Good afternoon, Yiyun Li.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having accepted this interview with Lecturama. We are pleased to ask you a few questions regarding your last book, Dans la douceur de nos champs de bataille, published by Editions Belfond. I'm aware that the subject of the book and therefore my question and discussion with you may be more difficult than an ordinary book. Be assured that I will do my best to take those matters into consideration, and of course you are free not to reply to any subject that is upsetting for you. In any case, I sincerely appreciate your taking the time to discuss this important book with me.
Thank you for having me.
Why did you write this book?
Why did I write this book? I cannot avoid saying this book was written after a life-changing event, which was the death of my child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to write the book is to find a way to process things. And I don't want to use the word grief, as I said in the book, because grief is such a often used word that is almost a cliche, but I would like to find a way to just say things that haven't been said before. And the whole book was just to trying to find ways to say things.
I wonder whether if it was for you a kind of catharsis to write about this event.
It's not as much as a catharsis as I think it's more about finding a time and space when both time and space were difficult, which what I mean is when a death happens like that, your life space was temporarily destroyed and your life was temporarily suspended. So to find something in that time and space, and in that suspended state, I think writing was the only way to deal with that, and that's how I look at it.
Your approach seemed to have a semantic speaking with your son, called Nikolai. Is it a goal you wanted to reach in this book, to invite him, to convoke him in a conversation about semantic? Maybe it was easier to talk about that.
Yes. So I think a few things determine the format of the book. One is, the son is dead, the mother is alive, so there's no place for them to meet in space or in time. Mostly they meet by talking, using words. And so words are important for both of them. And second of all, I think just by nature, both mother and son love words, and they enjoy talking about semantics. And that's one thing they have in common, and that won't be taken away by life or death, and that's where they find their common grounds.
It was this point with your son to have discussion, to discuss about words in the past?
Yes, I think, that's one thing we shared. In life, my son also loved words.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you define the themes you explored
in this book?
Yes.
I think it was it's a hard question. For me, it is to reach the unreachable. I think death is really that one thing that cuts us off from the other person. So how do you reach the other person when the other person is already dead or gone? And I think words, or writing this book, is to reach that unreachable. And also, I talk about I'm not interested in just writing about grief, because the etymology, the word grief means burden, heaviness. But it's not just heaviness. I think the mother and son talk about words, and they have joy talking about music and words and poetry. And I think that joy, despite all the pains, is also important.
How did you create the answers of your son?
Yes, certainly I call this book fiction or novel because it has to be made up. Everything is made up. The entire conversation is made up. On the other hand, when you know a person deeply, and when you know this, and when you understand this person deeply, you can always know what this person would say to life situations. I think just this particular life situation is death. The son is dead, the mother is alive.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still sharing a life situation, and the mother could tell what the son would say.
Yes. Did you think you changed your personality due to your loss? Do you know what would have been about your personality without this tragedy?
I think I wouldn't say change, but maybe I learned a few things. I feel that I used to know despair, but I realized after this loss, despair is no more. So, in other words, I feel despair is like quicksand. You sink into quicksand, and that's the end. You cannot get out of it. But death is not quicksand. Death is not despair. It's a wound. It's sadness that won't go away. But it's an active feeling of loss, and that active feeling, I think one has to accept. That's life.
Yes. So you think you evolved in a certain manner?
Yes, I think I feel, certainly things are still changing, right? As time passes by, I still have different reactions to this loss. But mostly I just have a realistic outlook of life. There are things you cannot do. As parents, we love our children, but love means so little when it faces death. So that's one thing that we just have to accept.
Do you think your writing will be a bit different in the future?
I think so. I think I already have seen a little bit of change now. As I said, this book is about loss, but it's not just sadness. The son and the mother have jokes. Yeah. They laugh about things. They're funny at times. Yeah. And the son especially, teases the mother, laughs at the mother. So I think my writing would become a little bit, I hate to say funnier because there's no better way to say, maybe it's going to be a little funnier.
Yes, but that shows, in a certain way, because it's not sad, this book is not sad, it's your strengths. And it's very, very important and very striking.
Thank you.
In a certain way, this book is also used to explain a lot of delicate themes in a philosophical style. Do you agree with this comment?
Yes, I do, and certainly philosophy is always part of my interest.
Yeah.
Yes, in writing. Yeah.
So you let come your son in this conversation about philosophy. You had conversation about philosophy with him before?
I think we would have philosophical arguments.
Yeah. Oh, argument. Okay.
Argument too is important. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I read a passage about love and to raise children, about culpability, culprit, and so and you gave to your son another thinking about. So you don't agree each other about that, yeah?
Yes. So, yeah.
So you make up all this conversation.
I did make up all the conversations, but it's the uncanny thing is it's him talking.
Yeah, it's him talking. Yeah. So, but through your style, I found him very mature for his age. Is it you or was it him?
It was him. It was
Okay.
not me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just happened to have precocious child, and I didn't ask for it, and I didn't force upon him. But I think this is. You can call it a gift, or you can call it a curse. You never know. But a child is a precocious child. You just have to deal
Yeah.
with it. You know?
Yeah, I was stunned, by that. Yeah. For me, the key word was how, and how became in your book very special. By the way, through your questions, the real question is about how to live with such pain, and how could he plan to do it? And do you agree with that, or do you have other explanations about the how?
How?
Yeah. For me, reading this book, and it was how can she live now with that
Right.
loss? How?
Right.
And maybe the how he did it, but I don't know. But for me, it's the key word is how.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with that, especially because the book is written when the book was written at a time when it was not clear how life could go on. Life had to go on in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How to trust someone, how to be a parent. Every answer seems to be double. It's translation and it's reverse. What do you think?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. In the book, as I told you about relationships through parent and children, every question has an answer, and every answer can be double. So with the reverse. So it's kind of the conversation you had with him, and for me, you explore this kind of every philosophical question, and it can have two different meanings.
Yeah.
Everything is not clear, but it's great sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of questions are asked not because we need answers, it's because we want to come to the conclusion that there's no answer to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So playing with words with him help you to let him live again through these lines. Yes.
Yes. The wordplay is an important part of the book.
Yeah. It was happiness. Kind of
It
happiness.
is joy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, happiness. Yeah.
I imagined you having great pleasure having to go to write this book because you were with him, right?
Despite all the suffering and the pain, I would say writing this book also made me laugh at times.
Yeah?
Yes, he made me laugh
Yeah.
the way he responded to things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's still alive.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
there are certain things death doesn't take away.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's wonderful that normally, yes, for you, he's alive because he's in you, but now he's in the world. He's living in the world. He's alive.
It is alive, and I just have to trust people will treat it as alive.
Yeah. So to end this interview, do you have any other projects?
I
for the
am.
future?
Yeah, I just finished another novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's set in America.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I said maybe I'm becoming a little funnier because I realized writing this novel after writing Where Reasons End, or sometimes writing makes me laugh.
Yeah. So I'm very in a hurry to read your new book.
Well, thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Yiyun.
And thank you for interviewing me. Yeah.
Thank you very much.